don't think it can happen to you.
The hit-and-run chase in California, a motorcycle rider witnessing a driver slam into several cars and then speeding away.
It can happen to you within seconds, a blink of an eye.
Tonight about the man suspected of killing a woman in a hit-and-run and his plan to evade justice.
When you take your eyes off the road for just seconds, when you're driving your car, oh, yes, it can happen to you. See, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. When the sands of time will run out within your hourglass.
New at 10, a hit and run caught on video, and now a teenager and his family are looking for the driver who took off.
He was a victim of a distracted driver hitting the road while riding his motorcycle going 65 miles per hour. He nearly lost his life. Now on a crusade to help save lives and prevent someone else from becoming a victim, the creator of DistractedDriversBusted.com and now the host of this podcast, it's Howard Drescher.
Have we gone mad? Have we gone mad when we are behind the wheel? That is my question to you today. It will be my question to you tomorrow and the day after and the day after that too. I believe that we are losing our grip on what humans are supposed to do. I believe we are losing our grip on how manners apply to each and every one of us. I believe we have lost it when it is now time to go home and you're behind the wheel and somebody cuts you off by mistake. Instead of just waving them through and saying, hey, it's okay, cool. You want to hit them, you want to kill them, and all sorts of stuff. It is just beyond approach. And what was my theme of this year? My theme for this year was stop. Stop this insanity. Stop how we're treating everybody. And stop, please stop the DUIs, the hit and runs, and just driving distracted. It is causing families, loved ones. It is causing all sorts of sadness around the world. You yourself may have been affected by this. It just has to stop. That's all I'm asking. If you can stop and start to be a human again instead of somebody with no manners and no right or no belief in anybody else except for yourself, then maybe, just maybe, we can get back to where we were supposed to be. I have 3 stories today that are so totally, they were all avoidable. And yet, I'm here today talking about these 3 stories. And for the love of me, I don't want to keep talking about stories like this. Honestly, I would like to do a podcast about something different than what I've been doing for the last 9 years. And by the way, my name is Howard Drescher. I'm the host of DistractedDriversBusted.com and, of course, now this podcast show. You can follow me on Twitter at DistractedDBTV, at DistractedDBTV, and, of course, Facebook, DistractedDB. You can get not only this show, but past shows on iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and Google Podcast, Amazon, and now TuneIn. Just type in the keyword DistractedDB. My keyword this year was supposed to be stop. And the more I preach about stopping and getting it stopped, the more and more people are doing. It is totally. I just don't even want to watch the news anymore. I don't want to drive down the road to work anymore. I just want to sit in my home and pretend the world is fine. But it's not. We need to step up and we need to do something so that way we are doing the right thing. Families are losing their loved ones, as I said. People are putting people in the ground that should not be. People's lives are being ripped apart, and yet it still happens. And people are just, well, it's not me. It ain't going to happen to me. And that's usually when it happens to you and happens to somebody you know. And that's the bottom line. It's going to happen no matter what. You take your eyes off the road just for a second. Just for a second. Just like in the opening that Gina tells me each and every time I run this opening, it only takes a second, a blink of an eye. And something bad can happen. And believe you me, it can. And then you got the people that, well, they go a little bit farther. Here in California, we had a guy arrested that was driving a Tesla. And I guess if anybody was close to his Tesla, he would stop his car on the freeway, stop his car in the fast lane or the fast track, whatever you want to call it. And he would do something totally like get out of the car and with a tire iron and pound on somebody's car. You were too close to my car. You're too close. Really? Really? Go back to freaking horse and wagon, dude. You don't need a Tesla. Go back to a horse and wagon. My gosh. Where are the manners? Where are the parents stepping up and teaching their kids on how to drive? Because Lord knows the schools are not doing it. The schools, no, it costs too much. Tell that to the parents of the kid who just got killed because of nobody taught them how to drive. They get behind the wheel, they think they can live forever. It's not a video game, people. It can happen at a blink of an eye. And when it does, it's just terrible. It's just terrible. And we got to stop. We have to stop.
And now it's time for the top story from the previous show.
All right, the top story from the previous show. Yes, this is another winner that we have on the docket this week. From Fox 10 in Phoenix. A wrong-way driver allegedly admitted she knew she was driving the wrong way, and yet she still did it. She was impaired, and she had 3 young children in her car, but she thought that the cops that were trying to pull her over to stop and get her turned around the right way were corrupt. Can you believe that? To me, you've lost your mind. Although you were drunk, so what the hell?
New information tonight on the wrong-way driver on the I-10 in Avondale.
The driver now behind bars after leading police on a chase last night. Fox 10's Lindsay Regis has the latest. Lindsay.
Yeah, guys, the wrong-way driver on I-10 who had to be stopped with a grappler has been identified as 32-year-old Sadie Kelly. Tonight, we're learning she admitted to driving the wrong way. We also found out why she attempted to get away. A wrong-way driver has been arrested after leading Arizona troopers on a pursuit along I-10 near 99th Avenue Thursday night. According to DPS, troopers were alerted to a wrong-way driver around 9 p.m. 32-year-old Sadie Kelly was traveling eastbound in the westbound lanes. DPS says troopers contacted the vehicle that self-corrected, but the driver took off and a pursuit began. Traffic cameras caught DPS troopers using a grappler to stop Kelly, but she kept revving her engine in an apparent attempt to get away. Troopers were able to box the suspect's car in on westbound I-10 at the Avondale off-ramp. That's when the suspect allegedly resisted arrest and had to be pulled from the car. Court documents reveal Kelly admitted she was driving the wrong way on the freeway with her kids in the car. A portion of the court documents say, quote, Kelly stated she knew that she was stopped by law enforcement and fled due to her believing the troopers were corrupt. DPS troopers say Kelly had 3 small children in the car. They were released to their father. Kelly was booked into jail last night. She's accused of driving under the influence, aggravated DUI, wrong way, resisting arrest, and unlawful fight. Reporting live in studio, Lindsay Regis, Fox 10 News.
And I appreciate it from Fox 10 News out there in Phoenix. Wrong way driver, she thought the cops were corrupt. Come on, are you serious? You have got to be painting a different picture than that. I hope you spend time in jail. And, for the love of God, please, I know they're your kids. Maybe you don't need them. I don't think you need them. This is the kind of stuff that I'm talking about that just totally goes without any kind of repercussions in times, and yet it still continues to happen. She's going to be out in a couple days if she's not out already. She's going to be driving again. She's going to be looking for her kids. They're going to be in her car. She's going to do the same thing again. All right, you're listening to DistractedDriversBusted.com, the podcast show. I'm your host, Howard Drescher. We'll be back right after this.
You're listening to the DistractedDrivers.com podcast. We'll be right back.
Wake up and text. Text and eat. Text and meet up with a friend you haven't seen in forever.
Hi.
Oh, hey.
Text and complain that they're on their phone the whole time. Text and listen to them complain that you're on your phone the whole time. Text and whatever. But when you get behind the wheel, give your phone to a passenger. Put it in the glove box. Just don't text and drive. Visit StopTextsStopWrecks.org. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Papa, why can't we telegraph while riding a horse?
Son, there ain't no one to blame but Jeffro. He was riding old Betsy the Stallion, tip-tapping away at his telegraph, when blam! Ran right into the side of the saloon.
Well, if Jeffro can't do it, neither should you. Don't text and drive.
Visit StopTextsStopWrecks.org. A message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, and the Ad Council.
Neil Armstrong waited 6 hours and 39 minutes to step onto the surface of the moon. Jackie Robinson waited 20 months to play his first game with the Brooklyn Dodgers. And even DiCaprio had to wait 22 years to win an Oscar. You can wait until your destination. Don't text and drive.
Visit StopTextsStopWrecks.org. A message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, and the Ad Council.
Now, back to the DistractedDrivers.com podcast.
All right, welcome back to DistractedDriversBusted.com podcast show. I am your host, Howard Drescher, the creator of DistractedDriversBusted.com, and of course now this podcast show. You can follow me on Twitter at DistractedDBTV, at DistractedDBTV, and of course on Facebook, DistractedDB. You can get this show and past shows on iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, Amazon, and now TuneIn. And it was a very disturbing, very rough week last week. Pretty much for everybody, especially if you lived up in the Laguna Beach area. As everyone is probably familiar, and we're not going to be talking about the Chinese balloon flying around, all that. Although that's pretty rough too. But a young doctor lost his life, and it didn't really even have to happen. It was preventable. Somebody with a short fuse did something wrong, and he ended up hitting the doctor, and the doctor was riding on his bike in Laguna Beach, probably like he did each and every day. Exercise, getting to work, whatever the case might be. Some impatient driver decided to do whatever he wanted to do, ended up hitting the young doctor on the bike. And then he got out of the car, walked over, and stabbed him to death. Are you freaking kidding? Here is a story from KTLA Channel 5 here in Los Angeles, and I appreciate them for allowing me to use the sound.
Yeah, hey there, Micah. We're standing in front of a hospital on Coast Highway here in Laguna Beach. That accident happened just about a mile and a half up the road here in Dana Point. And a doctor who works at this hospital told me they have been crying here all day after learning that the bicyclist killed in that incident was a doctor here.
We're just in shock. It's like hard to express, how we're feeling. Just saw him in the cafeteria 2 days ago and said, hi, hey, and now he's just, I just heard that it was him, and it's like a family member you lost.
Dr. Michael Mamoni, an ER doctor at Providence Mission Hospital in Laguna Beach, has been identified as the bicyclist killed in a stunning act of violence Wednesday afternoon, just before this white Lexus struck him on PCH at Crown Valley Parkway in Dana Point. Surveillance video reviewed by investigators appears to show the doctor stopped at a red light with other cars. As the light appeared to turn green, the Lexus plows right into the doctor's bicycle from behind.
What we do see is that the car hits Mike strongly, which projects him all the way through the intersection.
It then got worse. Investigators say the driver of the Lexus, identified as 39-year-old Van Roy Evans Smith of Long Beach, got out, went to the doctor he had just hit, and began stabbing him. The doctor was later pronounced dead at a hospital.
That's the irony of this whole thing. This is an ER doc who would have, if a patient was brought him in his situation, he would have done everything he could to save that person.
Witnesses helped detain the suspect at the scene, but right now, investigators say they know of no prior connection between the two men.
We currently don't truly understand the why. As far as motivation and any type of relationship, we don't know, but the investigators are keeping all options open.
They did recover a knife at the scene. If you have any information you think can help in this investigation, you can contact the Orange County Sheriff's Department. Reporting live here in Laguna Beach, I'm Chip Yost, KTLA 5 News.
Chip, thank you. All right, and I want to thank KTLA Channel 5 for that audio piece, and I appreciate the sound. No prior knowledge of the guy. They don't know each other. They're looking at it. And it took a little bit of time. It took a very short period of time. But they ID'd the guy. Obviously, because bystanders held him down. And again, he faced his day in court. And here is a story from Fox 11 LA. And I appreciate them for allowing me to use the sound.
New at 6, a Long Beach man has been charged with the death of a bicyclist in Dana Point. 39-year-old Van Roy Smith was charged yesterday for the death of Dr. Michael Mamoni. Police say Mamoni was riding his bike on the PCH Wednesday when Smith rammed him with his car. Police say while Mamoni lay injured on the ground, Smith stabbed him repeatedly. Bystanders tried to help Mamoni, but he died at the hospital. They also detained Smith until police arrived. If convicted, he faces a maximum of 25 years to life in prison.
All right, and I want to thank Fox 11 LA for that sound. But they got him only because there was bystanders there who did the right thing. So I do believe there are good people still around. And they stopped this guy from getting away. They tried to help out Dr. Mamoni. And kudos to them. Good job for that. So the world isn't all bad. There are a few good eggs out there. And what I can say is this guy ended up facing his day in court. He faced a judge the other day. Unfortunately, I didn't get the sound yet for that. That could be within a previous or in the next upcoming show, I should say. It is terrible that something like this could happen each and every day, but yet it still does. All right, you're listening to DistractedDriversBusted.com, the podcast show. I'm your host, Howard Drescher. When we come back, a fatal crash. A man is arrested from something that happened around Christmas time. I have that and more. You're listening to DistractedDriversBusted.com. I'll be back right after this.
You're listening to the DistractedDrivers.com podcast. We'll be right back.
Honey, are you ready to go to the party? We're late.
What? Yeah, don't worry. I'll be ready in 5 minutes, babe.
Really? Can you get off the phone? I'm already ready. We're going to be late.
Yeah. Don't worry. I'm almost done.
Let's go. Come on.
Oh, okay, honey. Let's go.
Can you be ready next time? I feel like I'm always ragging on you to get ready for these types of parties. Yeah. Isn't the man supposed to be waiting on the lady anyway?
I'm sorry, babe. I know I say this all the time, but I promise. Next time, I really promise next time I'll be ready, and I'll be ready to go by the time you get home.
Gosh.
Let me see who that is. I'm waiting to see if my friend is actually going to be at this party.
No! Leave your phone alone. You know that scared me last time. You nearly hit someone walking in a crosswalk.
What? No, you're crazy. Look, I told you don't tell me what to do. I got this.
Stop the car! Stop it now. I just can't be with someone who doesn't care about my life, not to mention their own.
Babe, wait, come back. This isn't happening, is it?
Wake up and text. Text and eat. Text and catch the bus. Text and miss your stop. Wait. Text and be late to work.
Sorry, I'm late.
Text and work. Text and pretend to work. Text and act surprised when someone calls you out for not working.
Who, me?
Text and meet up with a friend you haven't seen in forever.
Hi.
Oh, hey.
Text and complain that they're on their phone the whole time. Text and listen to them complain that you're on your phone the whole time. Text and whatever. But when you get behind the wheel, give your phone to a passenger. Put it in the glove box. Just don't text and drive. Visit StopTextsStopWrecks.org. A public service announcement brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Now, back to the DistractedDrivers.com podcast.
I'm your host, Howard Drescher, the creator of DistractedDriversBuster.com, and of course now this podcast show. Again, you can follow me on Twitter at DistractedDBTV, at DistractedDBTV, and of course on Facebook, DistractedDB. And you can get this show, and not only this show, you can get all my previous past shows on iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, Amazon, and TuneIn. Just type in the keyword DistractedDB. Okay, so from what I understand in talking with my producer, she says that the young gentleman that ended up killing the young doctor ended up going to court and he pleaded not guilty. I mean, okay, I can't go anywhere there until I hear the audio, but that is so ridiculous. I mean, bystanders pulled you down. They know you did it. That's your car. You had a weapon that ended up, stabbing the doctor. I mean, how can you play? Are you temporary? Do not go down that road. Temporary insanity. Do not. That's the only thing I can tell you. Do not go down that road, because tell you what, that is an injustice. Terrible. All right, here's a story I got from ABC7 here in Los Angeles, and I appreciate them for allowing me to use the sound. It stems from a street takeover that happened somewhere maybe last year, maybe around Christmas time frame, somewhere within the last, well, let's just say, I know in the month of December. And there was a young 28-year-old female who was standing in the crowd, ended up getting killed. Well, it took all this time, as the police were still investigating, to catch the guy that they believe did it. And here's again the story from ABC7, and I appreciate them for allowing me to use the sound.
A big break in that Christmas night street takeover that left a 24-year-old woman dead. Police have just announced their first arrest in the case.
Eyewitness News reporter Leo Stallworth is live in South LA with details on how they tracked down the suspect. Leo.
Well, Philip, JoJo, this news conference, as you can imagine, was emotional, with family and friends joining detectives. That poor victim killed Christmas night. Some of the family members are still here following that news conference, which just ended, along with detectives. And as you mentioned, they have made an arrest. They believe they have arrested the person who was driving the Camaro that was ditched following the tragic street takeover. They are on the hunt for other suspects as well. 28-year-old Dante Chapo Young, arrested in New Mexico Thursday. Detectives say with the help of the FBI, they were able to arrest the suspect. He's facing murder charges. The victim in this tragedy, 24-year-old Elijah Oaxaca, a nursing student. Elijah struck and killed in that street takeover December 25th. The tragedy unfolding after 9 that night. The victim standing on the northwest sidewalk of Crenshaw Boulevard and Florence Avenue. looking at the street takeover when a Chevy Camaro doing illegal donut maneuvers in the middle of the intersection lost control, veering into a crowd of spectators, killing her and injuring several others. The driver fleeing the scene along with others involved in the street takeover. Here's more from detectives talking about how tough it was closing in on the one suspect who is now in custody.
There was times and moments where pursuing this guy literally was almost mirrored like a movie. Some of the things that were done and some of the tactics that he used to evade capture at certain points, it literally was like if you were watching a movie and you're living through a movie. It was a game of chess, if you will.
My daughter was a beautiful soul. She had a heart of gold, and we will truly miss her. She was just a beautiful person all the way around.
And detectives say the next phase of their case immediately is to extradite Young, the suspect who they have in custody, who's in New Mexico at the moment, extradite him to Los Angeles. Again, they're on the hunt for other suspects who they believe was directly involved in that street takeover. And they say once they make other arrests, those folks could be facing murder charges as well.
All right, now it's from ABC7 out here in Los Angeles, and I appreciate them for allowing me to use sound. And good for the FBI and all the law enforcement agencies and everybody that was involved in trying to get to retain this guy and go ahead and arrest him. And I apologize. I did say that the female was 28 years old. She was actually 24, as you heard in the report there, and I apologize for that. I just wrote the number down wrong. That's my apologies. And so here's the thing. When they have these street takeovers, why are people standing around? Why is it a big thing to have that? If you want to do that, join the Indianapolis 500. Go ahead and go out there to LA where they had, like yesterday, they had the LA Bush crash thing there at the LA Coliseum. They had the car racing out there. You want to drive out there. That's where it's authorized. Go ahead and drive. You know, taking over the streets and stuff like that. What is that doing? I mean, it is just making no sense. People get hurt, they get injured, and what happens? They end up leaving their car, and they don't realize that car is easily identifiable to you. Make and model, registration, probably the insurance, license plates, all that stuff. The VIN number, all that is still attached to you somehow. Think about that one. Yeah. Yeah, I get that. That's how the police will track me down. I better not do that. I better not go out there tonight and do this. It's just common sense. I'll be a good boy, stay home and watch TV. Yeah. Nobody's going to get hurt. And then everybody's peaceful. Everybody has a enjoyable day. Remember the key word at the beginning of the show. The theme of this year is called stop. So if we can stop doing that, that would help out immensely. Because that poor 24-year-old female didn't have to die. Her mother didn't have to make a statement that she did. The cops didn't have to do what they did to track this guy down. That guy didn't have to leave, go down to Mexico to try to hide. It just makes no sense why people do these things. The generations now, I'm not getting it. Man, I got to be perfectly honest with you. I'm glad I grew up when I grew up. I mean, the kids, they respected their parents. They did all the right things, and everything was beautiful. The parents would say, "Hey, come home for dinner." We were home for dinner. We didn't, whatever. You come in like 2, 3 in the morning. You didn't cause hate and discontent. You didn't do any of that stuff. Where did we go wrong? Was it the 70s? The 80s? I think it's the 80s. It definitely could have been the 90s. Not really sure. All right, you're listening to DistractedDriversBusted.com, the podcast show. Another one in the can. I appreciate each and every one of you. Listen to the show, download it, and hopefully you enjoy it. Until then, remember, I don't want to die today, do you? Don't let anyone take the sands of time within your own hourglass. Until next time, please be safe.